Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Universal Energies. My guests today are Brenda Butler and Derek Savory. Pleased to meet you. Pleased to meet you, Brenda. So without further ado, can I ask you, Derek and Brenda together, how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it since 1965. And I got into it because things happened to me from an early age. But in 1965 I went on holiday with a friend down January in Sussex, and I went into a shop and I saw a UFO magazine. And I thought, oh my God, I've seen that before, that's what I've seen. So I went into the shop and I bought the UFO magazine, and then I started writing for the newspaper UFO News up in America, and I was investigating for them, so I done UFO stuff for them, and basically I took it from there then.
How interesting. And Derek, can I ask you the same question?
Yes, I got involved. The biggest thing happened in 1980, and basically I was with a friend 11 o'clock at night, and we see a big ball of fire falling out of the sky, and then it changed direction like it was controlled, and we driving, so we just carried on trying to follow this ball of fire, and we thought if it hits ground, that, like it was over Clacton at the time, we thought if it hits Clacton, that'll total Clacton. But it changed direction, headed towards Suffolk. I went up towards Harwich first, then obviously over the water, and we tried to follow it, cut all the back roads through to Harwich, and we lost sight of it because of the windy roads. But from then on it sort of really intrigued me, and in the late 80s I joined the Essex UFO group, and of course in the 80s the news of the world come out with this UFO that landed in Suffolk, and then I realised when the dates matched up to when I see this big ball of fire, which was in 1980, December 1980, and that initially got me interested. I thought, well, what we see must have been involved with that.
Very interesting.
And I did ring up the local newspaper when it happened, the day after, or a couple of days after the incident, and the paper said they'd been inundated with phone calls. Hundreds of people have seen this ball of fire, and all they reported in the paper was that it was probably a satellite falling out of the sky, an old-fashioned satellite, or it was a meteorite or something. But they didn't really print what was seen because it changed direction. It didn't just fall out of the sky, it just fall, and then it changed direction like it was controlled. And through that is why I've sort of got back involved with things again.
Perhaps we can understand why they don't print these things, because it'd be a monumental happening that would change opinions for a lot of things. But the viewers will make up their own minds for that, I'm sure they will. But it's given them the tools to go on from there. So that's how long you've been doing it, okay? You go to different places together. We'll get into that later on now. Where is your most prominent place that you have investigated, that you can pick on one yourselves?
Rendlesham
Yeah,
Forest.
Rendlesham. Well, I went to Aldershot and there was a good one there, and I've been all over the country.
Right, okay.
I think Rendlesham. Yeah, I've been down there since 1979, investigating UFOs before 1981.
Right, okay.
So yeah, I was
So-
in Rendlesham.
So with the investigating, okay, how would you carry that out? Is it photographs? Is it getting different experiences? What would that be? How would that be done?
Interviewing people first, people who've actually seen UFOs, and they phone up and contact us and say that they've seen something, so we would go down and we would meet them, we would interview them, and then we'd write it down. If they said that we could use their name and what they've said, that's fine, then we will. And if they say they like to stay without their names being mentioned, then that's fine too. We won't mention their names. And then basically from there, then we'd go around the area and see what other people have seen, and basically take it from there. And then we go down and do different things, and that. But yeah, the basic thing is to interview people, to write it down and make sure other people can back them up.
Yeah, good. So are you always both together, or do you do things separately, or how does that work?
Well, now nowadays it's slightly different in as much that we do tours around the forest. Brenda's obviously the top girl, she's been doing it for longer. And we just do tours around the forest and show people where certain events happen. Bear in mind there was a lot of military personnel involved in the 1980s.
Yes.
In fact, only last year we had a full Colonel Holt, come over to this country from America, and he was deputy base commander, wasn't he, of the Bentwaters base in 1980. And he came over and he actually done a talk on it last year. So, you know, there's some quite high-ranking officers involved.
Can you just widen that out a bit, the Colonel Holt? I know that there's a book that we're going to show at the end of
Well, basically, do you want me to tell her what happened?
Yeah.
Over 2 or 3 nights in December 1980, there was what was believed to be UFO incidents at Rendlesham Forest. It started off with 2 airmen going out. They'd see lights and they were security airmen, and they thought perhaps a plane had crashed. And they've gone out into they asked for permission to go out in the forest, which they did. And one of the airmen claimed to have touched the craft, another one, loads of airmen were involved with it. Hundreds of people actually see the actual craft, didn't they, or see lights in the sky. But it was over at least 2 nights, if not 3 nights, possibly even more. And eventually, Colonel Holt came out on base one night, wasn't it, in 1980, and he was going to debunk it. And when he got to the forest, a lot of troops were out, they had lighters out to try and see what it was that was happening in the forest. And he ended up seeing a UFO, for want of a better word, didn't he? And that's how it's gone on. And these various, over the course of the years, a lot of airmen wouldn't speak of it at the time because obviously they're in the Air Force, they could have their pensions affected, but now quite a lot of them have come forward and have spoken what they've seen.
Mm.
But the thing is, there was an awful lot of British witnesses who saw what happened, and this was before that hit the newspapers. I had people phoning me up saying they seen something along the road, over the forest, over Orford, coming out of the sea, down at Bordsea and that. So I went with Dot Street and we went and we interviewed these British witnesses, because you've got to remember the British witnesses, they aren't covered, are they, by the security, the official security. So what they said, you know, you've got to believe, because there were so many of them saw different things and different UFOs and that, but nobody wants to know about the British witnesses. Nobody, everybody, all the lectures I've ever done, I've done about the British witnesses and give their details and their stories. Everybody keep going back to the Americans.
Unfortunately, that a lot is said by Americans, more so than that are by the English British people, whichever way you look at it. And it's almost believed that the American point of view, whatever it happens to be, is credible, whatever it is, and they don't take into consideration our beliefs, if you like. So why do you think that the lid has been put tightly on this from the beginning?
Well, probably because that never happened the way they're saying it happened. Because there's been a big cover-up, you know, a big secrecy thing. But if you think that Dot and I, we were followed about, we were warned off by the MOD. We have been just recently too, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've been warned off by people and that, and telling it to leave it alone. And we went up to the house, the MOD office, and we were asked to sign papers to say we wouldn't investigate it anymore. Jenny Randalls, myself and Dot went. They took us in a back room and wanted us to sign documents to say that we'd leave it alone. If nothing happened of anything, you know, why? And we said we wouldn't, you know, but we have been hounded. We've been hounded a lot.
Yeah, I can quite see why the government, or the authority, if you like, has put the lid on things. I mean, it could change the perspective of the whole belief system of the world, if you like.
That's right.
Well, I don't know if you know, but at the time, over the 27th, because most things happened on the 27th, most of our witnesses are the 27th, but the HMS Norfolk from Portsmouth was moored, docked over off Ireland, the other side off Ireland. We had the Russian submarine out there also, and we had the Russian Tupolev the plane going up and down our waters, and we had helicopters looking for something in the waters. Now we've got witnesses to this. A man at Bordsey actually saw this from his house, looking through his telescope and he saw all of this out to sea.
So you've got to think, 1980 was the height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a lot of things going on, and it was very, where they apparently had nuclear bombs stored here at Bentwaters, although the British said there wasn't any. No, it would transport.
Yeah, I did hear. I've heard rumours about something like that.
That's right, and you've got to just think what was going on in the times in 1980. So there's a lot of things being hidden, a lot of things being tried out, and then you've got Bordsey, Orford Island with the different radar systems going on.
Also the Woodbridge base as well. I've heard a lot about that.
Woodbridge and Bentwaters work in conjunction.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
As things have transpired now, I mean, most people that come to the forest wanted to sort of see where these different landing sites are.
We've got 7 at the moment.
Yeah. But we've got, basically, besides the 1980 incidents, there's a lot of other stuff that happens, paranormal stuff. Hence why we get thousands of photographs of these different strange anomalies. Like when a medium gets messages in the forest, usually around Brenda, like, instead of spirits coming around, these are like misty apparitions gather around you, and we can get pictures of them. In fact, just saying, mediums get messages from spirits. We could use the word ETs, because I don't know how else to describe them. Because not just people we see, is it? It's strange looking.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
We see monks, ETs, and all other different kinds of stuff.
I mean, at the end of the day, then there's no difference between, and I have to say that Brenda is a medium here. I'm not saying Derek isn't a medium in his own right, because we all have that ability. But there's not to say that you, Brenda, are more susceptible, if you like, to picking up. It's like an antenna on a TV channel.
Well, something Brenda can do that I think I should point out is take pictures a lot of people can't take. A very good example, if you're walking through the forest in a pitch black and Brenda says there's something standing there, then you can bet your life there's something standing there. Sometimes a group of people can take pictures and you might get it. If you hand Brenda your camera, she'll get the picture of this ghostly apparition. But there is a reason for that, apparently. Well, Brenda can take pictures other people can't take. Now, we've had just about everybody you can imagine with the best equipment in the world come down, haven't we, at different times. And we've proved it to them. You know, even very shortly, like Brenda's got some scientists come down, again, to go around the forest. And, we've proved it, told Brenda more so than me, time and time again, with these things have appeared. We've lined up with, say, 10, 6, 8, 10 people in a line. And when Brenda says there's something there, people try to take pictures. Sometimes the energy batteries will drain on all the cameras just like that. Same as on the phones, same as on the torches, that can drain the power. And sometimes you try to take a picture, it doesn't happen. But if you hand Brenda the camera, she gets a picture with your camera. It appears that Brenda can influence what you're trying to take a picture of. Why that is, I don't know. I've had several theories why that is, but she can send her influences, and it's very similar to what a medium does, getting messages.
Yeah, I would put that down to the compatibility through the sensitive, being a sensitive.
Yeah.
The compatibility with energies.
Well, we've also found, in the forest, if you get another sensitive person with Brenda, all of a sudden you can amplify the things that happen.
That happens with a medium. If you get, that's right. Let me just ask you and turn this around a bit, because the listeners are wanting to know about it. Have you ever been to any investigations whereby you know that it's not right? You know that there's something that there's nothing to see or anything like that. Have you ever been in a situation like that? You've been prompted by people to go along and see because they've seen, they've done, they've been, or whatever, but you go along and you can't find anything. Have you ever been to that?
No, it's very, very rare. When we go down there an awful lot. I'm
It's
sometimes
usually
2 or 3
forest.
times a week.
This may be a new area that you haven't been to.
Yeah.
Someone will phone you up and they sound very convincing, but when you get down there you can't pick anything up.
Well, we normally pick up orbs, even if you think there's nothing else there, we pick up
Yeah.
orbs.
We concentrate in the forest, you see.
Yeah.
We normally concentrate in the forest as opposed to the rest of the country. We stick to mainly Rendlesham because it's got a lot of history there. You've got your Sutton home on the edge there. There's obviously ley lines that run through it. We've got our reasons why we do Rendlesham Forest. I mean, Brenda's been around all over the country doing investigation. I did when I was with Essex UFO Group. I was doing them in Essex. We'd go on investigations, but to be honest with you, everything we need is in Rendlesham Forest. It's nice and easy. It's just up the road, and it's had obviously one of the biggest encounters there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ever.
It's Suffolk. That's definitely in Suffolk.
When you said about going somewhere and there was nothing there, Peter, who I used to go around with, who used to come out with me, we went to Tunstall Forest.
Oh, Tunstall, I know that well.
Tunstall, yeah. We didn't get anything there. We went to Thetford Forest. We found that very negative and we took loads of photos. We went back there 2 or 3 times, didn't get anything there. And we had reports and that coming out from several people from Thetford saying they'd seen this, that, now. We didn't even get any orbs there. So what did we do? Rendlesham Forest. We came back to Rendlesham. But we have been all over the country, and that like in the 1980s, I used to be on the hotline phone, and people were always saying, "Oh, we're seeing orange lights in the sky. Oh, I see UFO, I see UFO." 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd get in my car, go down there, and they were helicopters or aeroplanes dropping off flares over off the island. We've done that loads of times.
I can imagine that it would be quite, especially if someone's looking at this program, digesting it, what's being said here, and they see lights in the sky. I can imagine they can jump to a conclusion.
Yeah.
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
Yes.
As for orbs, I mean, orbs are around us all the time when
Yes.
we're doing things. So if you're sensitive, you can pick them up. But I've taken pictures with orbs I've taken pictures of orbs in the centre.
Yeah.
And in different centres and things like that. Let me ask you one question. What would be the difference between a spirit and an alien? Is there a difference?
Well, I would have thought so. I mean, it depends how you define a spirit, because like the orbs, which we get, they do have faces and animals and all kinds of stuff in. And, like an energy of light and that. But we call them spirit orbs.
Yeah.
But an alien
Alien's
is,
different.
you
The
know,
alien, we look as alien from another planet.
dimension.
What we're talking about is interdimensional stuff.
But with a spirit, it's let me just look at it objectively, whereby a spirit is from a different dimension.
Yeah.
Whether you believe it or not, when you pass, then you'll go to a different dimension. So what is the difference between that and an alien who is coming from a different dimension?
No, we used to term ETs from another dimension, or interdimensional.
Well, it's just, yeah.
They just live in another dimension.
Yeah.
Another type of being. But they might not be human looking. They might be, some of them are strange looking things. Do you know what I mean? You think, well, what is that? We've got pictures of these things. But another interesting thing, on some of the pictures that we get, that's not all the same time period. Do you know what I mean? There might be, say, things from different dimensions. There might be, say, a dinosaur in a picture, an ET, and then a human, a Victorian, or goes back even further in the same picture. So it's looking like you're looking through a time tunnel of all different things and not all the same time period. There could be hundreds of years of difference, or even thousands of years difference, all appear in the same picture. And a lot of the stuff are like misty type beings.
But some of them who come through, like the condos we met, was 2 years ago now, the condos, they said they were ancients, and they came through a portal, and they were sort of like ancients and come from years, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and they call themselves the ancients.
Very much into the ancients and ancestral path there. talking on, the Egyptology right the way through from the Old Kingdom right the way through up to the New Kingdom, and then to the Brine, and to the Bronze and the Iron Age, and right the way through. I just love history, and I've studied it quite a lot in there.
Well, if you look at Venetian as a whole, you've got Sutton Hoo, obviously King Edward, when he landed there, built a palace there. He obviously landed there for a reason, right? And then you've got the American air bases happen to be there, like a seat of power.
You've got Bordsey.
And Bordsey. Do you know what I mean? They're not just anywhere in the
When we
country,
talk about
they?
Radwell, we're going into a different subject now, so let's
Yeah.
try not to get too much involved in there, because it's something I do know about the Viking race and why he came and everything else and all that.
Yeah.
I do understand that. Let's go back to the ancients, or our own lineage, for instance. We go back 100, 150 years here. People will argue that they've seen things right from that age. Didn't put a graphical name on it because, quite honestly, you didn't do it then. Because, if you talk to yourself, you get locked up. Like not anything else. But the sort of thing. We have more freedom of speech now, and from that freedom of speech, people will automatically call something in the sky, like we're talking about, a UFO, which is nothing but unidentified flying object. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Having you guys on the programme clarifies certain things that people want to know, and by backing it up by certain things, which we'll talk about in a minute, they will be even more interested knowing that they can contact you later. Having said that, I have to tell you listeners that we have a photo board that will be open to you within the programme here. Hopefully we can get our manager to put this on. I'm sure he will. And there will be a lot of photos on there that will be explained of how they took them and things like that later on. So we will take the picture, we will take the explanation and the picture, and the pictures will go from there. So let me say, to start with here, you go in for the investigation, you have a camera there.
Yeah.
Have you got any expectations before you go, or does it just come and happen?
No, we don't have any expectations.
No.
We just absolutely love the forest.
Yeah.
Always, and I always say love and light to the forest. Always tell the forest, the trees, that we love them, and always ask if we can take the photos and that. But we don't really have any expectations because we just walk around the forest and love the forest so much.
Yeah.
So you never know what you're going to happen. I mean, what you're going to say, I had an experience. See, if one person, if you say, I've seen this strange thing, then people say, you could be mad or whatever. But when there's two or three or four,
I do. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? There's witnesses.
There's clarity in numbers, absolutely, and I do understand it, and that's why I asked you to come on, not because there are two of you, but I asked you to come on so that you can explain that, because we need to see both ends of the spectrum from a believer's point of view and not quite a skeptic point of view, and have a look at that, and which we are getting and which we have got here.
The thing is, I never ever talk about anything that I can't back up. All my photos I've taken, I've got over 3,000-4,000 of them. I can back up everything I say. When I do my lectures, I'll take my photos, and we very often have them on camera and that, shown on the board. So I'll always back up what I say.
That's how it should be.
Always.
I was going to say I love you, Brenda, but at the end of the day, I like people that I never say anything. I don't talk about anything that I can't back up myself.
That's right.
So let's move away from the situation here and get more into talking to you, Brenda, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Not ignoring you, one little bit, but can you just enlighten the listeners about your mediumistic side of things? How did that take off?
That took off when I was very, very young. Once again, I found suddenly I could do drawings, and I could write poetry, of which I've had loads and loads of them published, books and that. And suddenly I just found that I could see things, And I couldn't really, well, I didn't say anything to Mum and Dad because, you know, obviously they would call me crazy and that, and they didn't believe anything like that. And as I got older and older in my teens and things were happening to me, then I realised that I could see things. And I've had people come and stay with me who was very, very psychic and from different places and that, and we've done sort of like psychic abilities together and everything. And then, must be 25, 30 years ago, I found a gentleman who lived at Hoxton who I called my psychic master, and I used to go with him twice a week, and we used to do a lot of psychic stuff and everything. Gradually I was going right deep down, you know, right away, and I do down the forest now, don't I?
Yeah.
If they're about, then I'll go right out of it, right deep meditation, and you know, sort of go away, and they know when I do that they're not allowed to talk to me. And then gradually the ETs come through, spirit come through, and I started talking to the ETs and that, which I do down the forest sometimes. Different languages came through, and basically that's been right from when I was an early age, and that's gradually got, you know, better and better as I go along.
So you channel?
Yeah, I do channel a lot. Yeah, I do. When I do meditations and that, I channel.
Mm-hmm.
I channel a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I can relate to a lot of that. I mean, I've been seeing and hearing since I was 4 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
People around the cot and things like that. But having said that, that's, we're all here for a purpose, and your
right.
channeling has gone from one area. I'm meeting this guy here.
Yes.
I'm not too sure who he is, but meeting this guy here, and you're working together as a team, as a unit here.
Yeah.
It's as though, and the viewers will understand that you bounce off each other.
When I go to Derek's, which is quite a regular basis, and I'm sitting there, I get messages come through for Derek, or if I've been there all evening, I can see things walking around his house and everything. When we leave there and we come home, I very often get messages, don't I, on the way home for him. Yeah, you know, but just lately I've been getting loads of messages for him. You know.
But I just want to, for the viewers to understand that you don't have to be a medium to pick up things from a UFO perspective. That's all I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Bless you for doing that, and blessed be for that as well. But having said that, okay, what is your next project that's coming out? Have you got something that is you're biting at the bit? And we're not talking about your book, the latest book at the moment, but any investigative projects coming out?
Well, we're always sort of like going down the forest, aren't we, and investigating things. And as I say, there's these people coming over on the 24th, which is a private party, and two of them are scientists. One has something to do with big forests, and another one is very, very high up. I got a letter from them this morning telling me, explaining, bless them, all about what they do, because they didn't think that was fair, me going down there and meeting about 6 of them, and I don't know anything about them. So they explained it all, but that'll be that. And then I've got other people coming down, sort of taking for walks and that. So mainly my time is took up basically going to see Derek and going down the forest.
So what is the, sorry to interrupt, so what is the difference between, obviously we know about it at private and going for a walk, things like that. Do you get a lot of private stuff, or do you do more walks, or is it sort of 50-50 that way?
Well, that's probably 50-50, but when I say that's private, I never accept a penny for anything I do, ever. But when I say it's private, that's just that they book me to take them round, and they don't need a whole
Oh, I see. I see.
So they just say, you know, we don't need a
So
whole
it's not for the public,
people.
in other words?
No.
Okay, that's fair enough. So the walks are public.
Yes.
And just basically take us through a little of what happens on the walks.
Well, we start at the car park, and we sometimes give a little lecture, introduce everybody and everything. And then if anybody we say, is there anywhere you want to go? We always ask them if they would like to go somewhere, and I'll say, no, we'll follow you. And we normally take them, you know, down track 10 or across and go all the way around where all the UFOs were supposed to have landed, and tell them all about where we've seen the monks, where we've seen the ETs. And then we take them further afield. That depends. A lot of them can't walk, you know, and they have a job walking.
Yeah.
But there's several benches and seats about where we stop and have some food and some drink. And then a lot of them ask us questions and that, so we answer their questions. and then we normally finish about 2-3 o'clock in the morning probably. Some people want to go earlier, don't they?
Yeah.
So Derek, is it a case of people come for a specific reason, or do they want to just experience that maybe they might experience something?
It's a bit of both, I think, really, because everyone who comes and knows about UFOs will have heard of the Rendlesham incident, and it's known worldwide. There's only one bigger than the Rendlesham incident, and that's what was happening in Roswell, the Roswell incident in America.
Yeah.
But the difference is with America, with our one here in Rendlesham, a lot of the people are still around, the witnesses are still around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Brenda was the main investigator in 1980, so everyone wants to know about 1980. And obviously you get to meet everybody who comes over, all the main players who I suppose we've met, you could say, haven't you? Brenda's interviewed just about everybody. Obviously like TV crews, all these different documentaries that come out now. Brenda's normally involved somewhere along the line, and basically everybody comes here because they want to experience and be to hear that story. But see, that's not the only thing that happens in Rendlesham. There's been a lot of other things. We've stood there, us a group of 7 of us have stood in Rendlesham Forest, and we've seen three UFOs with a display on. And we've stood there in 2 separate groups a mile apart, and we've watched this UFOs put a display on. And people come along sometimes, I think, blimey, God, there's a UFO, you know. It's not just UFOs though. There's other experiences that we've had there. I've had one of the biggest experiences in my entire life there, and I can't honestly say it's to do with UFOs. It could have been spirit. I don't know what it was. All I know is I've had one really big experience with my son and my brother in the forest, and we can't explain it. And then when I spoke to Brenda, she's had a similar thing with another group of people in exactly the same spot. It's like, I personally think there's a portal there, and I think these things come through a portal, and I'm for whatever reason drawn to you. But people turn up there expecting to see this or that happen. You can't promise anything.
No, of course not. No,
you know
no,
what I
no.
mean? You can't say there's going to be
When you say
anything.
things, explain what things are, because they won't know.
Well, give example. If I tell you what happened to me and my brother. I had my brother drove down from Devon, and he was going to spend a week with me, and he came down and my son came and joined me. And I took him to Rendlesham Forest. Neither had ever been there before, and they wanted to see where the UFO landing sites were. It was October 1st, 2012, full moon in the evening, half 7 we got there, met somebody else. I spent 10 minutes talking to them, then we walked from a little car park down the road to walk up the main track, what we call track 12. It's actually track 8, is a little number for it, but we call it track 12, it used to be. My mate said, oh, I won't stay with you, I'll just let you free carry on. So we walked up the track, and we got to the first crossroads, and I got a bit disorientated. I said to my son, I'll show you where one of the landing sites is. So my son and my brother come with me up a track, and I said, hang on a minute, I'm in the wrong area. I said, I can't understand, I've got something made me get disorientated. Walked back to the crossroads, and then my brother said, Del, I can sense sort of evil here, and evil over that way. My brother is a very sensitive person, more sensitive than me. So then we carried on walking to what was known as Capel Green, got up to the next little tiny crossroads, and then I can't explain what happened then. The temperature dropped from nice and warm to really cold, and my brother said, Del, I can't breathe. And I've looked round at my brother, and I said, I stood there, and I thought, are you alright, Andrew? And then just on said that, these shadow soldiers appeared along the side of us, and my brother and my son and me were just staring at these things. They were soldiers, but they were ghosts of soldiers. You could put your hand through them, you know. So we stood there staring at these soldiers, I think it was about 10 of them standing there, and then we looked to the other side, and there was these little monks, about 4 foot high monks, about 4 of them on the other side of us. You couldn't see their faces, but they had like the hoods on like a normal monk, but they were small, only about 4 foot high. And we're standing looking at these monks, and then my son said, Dad, look, and in front of us was a giant, and this sounds ridiculous. But I'm telling you, this giant was about well over 10 foot tall. And I'm staring at this giant thinking, if the three of us rush this, that would throw us like rag dolls. But the face of it looked a little bit like an Anglo-Saxon mask. I call it an helmet, I don't know how to describe it, but I don't know if it was an Anglo-Saxon mask or if it was its real face. It had really long arms and very long fingers. And my son was saying, look at his fingers, they're really long. And then we stood there and we just didn't know what to do. We should have run, but I couldn't run anywhere. My brother still couldn't breathe, and we just didn't know what to do. So we're looking at these things all around us. So I said, well, look, we better back up a bit. So we've backed up about 20 foot, and the temperature rose a little bit. And my brother said, I can breathe now, I can breathe. And my brother said, well, what's happening? And we was looking around, surrounded by these things. Well, basically, they escorted us out the forest. This giant wasn't letting us going to go past. It was obviously blocking something. We think it was, now we believe it was stopping us entering a portal. We think the portal had opened up, and these things were protecting us. And that's the feeling we got, was being protected. But to walk from where that happened to the road, what's that? Average like 40 minutes walk. From there to the road, back to the road, was about 40 minutes. So we've basically got escorted out the forest by a load of whatever they were, like ghosty type, so shadow soldiers, monks and a giant. We've got escorted out the forest. We stepped onto the road and they just all vanished. And we hurried back up to the car park and we was like shaking. Got to the car, opened the car doors. There was only car in the car park was ours. We've lit a cigarette and then my son said, Dad, behind you. And I've looked round and there's these little 2 foot silvery blue things standing there staring at us in the car park. And we stood there staring at these little being things. And they were the same again, they were like hologram type things. And we stood there thinking, blimey, I don't know what to make of that. And we just was shaking and trying to make sense of what was happening. And then the ground started to shake like there was a train or something passing underground. At this point, we jumped in the car, we flew out the forest. On the way, my brother said, Del, can you pull over? I said, you can, just pull over. So I pulled over because I thought my brother wanted to be sick because he's in shock. Stopped the car, he said, not here, just get us out of the forest. So I got out of the forest, pulled over. And I said, well, go on in, you know, if I go, I thought he would be sick. And he said, no, he said, something got me in the forest. I said, what do you mean something got you? He said, something got me in the forest. And he took his coat off and rolled up his shirt and he had blood coming down with the shoulder blade. Something had got him. And we just couldn't believe it. I said, well, I'll get you home. We drove back to my house here in Felixstowe. That takes, as you know, on average 30 to 40 minutes to drive home from Finisham to where I live in Trimley. We got in, walked in the door, and I looked at the clock and it said 5 to 10. So that can't be right, 5 to 10. After what we've done, we couldn't be back at 5 to 10. I put the kettle on, I made a cup of coffee. My brother, I said, look, take your coat off and we'll have a look at your injuries, because he had something had got him and there was bleeding there. But there was no hole in his coat and there was no holes in his shirt. There was blood on his shirt with something happened. While I was doing that, my son said, I'm going to look up Demons and Giants Dead because of what we just seen. He opened up his laptop and before he done anything, it came up Demons and Giants, like something had taken over the computer and it was something coming over all fuzzy. And he said, look, what's happening? I said, just shut the laptop. So he shut the laptop down. I made us a cup of coffee. We sat there and I took some pictures of my brother's interviews on my camera phone. And then we sat and talked for a couple of hours discussing what happened in the forest. I mean, how can you sort of walk into a finishing forest, see a giant, little monks and shadow soldiers and these other little silvery things, you know, what have you just seen? Well then my brother said, Del, I don't know what's happened tonight, but I'm going home. I said, what are you going home? He said, I'm going back home. I said, we live in Devon, 7 hours drive. He said, I don't. I said, I don't care, I'm going home. And he got in his car and drove back home to Devon that night, or early as the morning, and didn't speak to me for about a year and a quarter because of the shock. I mean, me and my son, we've been back to the forest, alright, and now my brother is actually down at this moment in time while we speak, actually, and he's been to the forest with us. He now comes and goes around with Brenda, but for over a year, the shock frightened him that much, he wouldn't come to the forest, wouldn't even talk to none of us whatsoever. That was how much the shock of what happened. I mean, now, since then, we can walk around with Brenda. She's had a similar experience in exactly the same spot, which I might add is very close to where the UFO incidents happened, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating. I know that the viewers are really going to be interested in this.
It's in one or two books as well, and I do radio shows about it, and when people have been in the forest, I'll show people around where these things have happened. But there was 3 of us stood there, and 3 of us see these things surrounding us. And what can you say, you know, when this happens?
The thing is, though, the forest isn't all love and light. During the day, people think, oh, it's a beautiful forest, but at night time comes in, and with Bernie, we've had an experience last year when we were walking up the track, and I said to him, uh-oh, there's something behind us. And he was going, what? And I go, something behind us, and I turned round, and there was about 3 or 4 of these, well, black, shadowy things, and they were coming, and we were going down track 10, and they were coming up, and they were behind him, like that, coming behind him. I grabbed him, and I said, come on, quick, let's get to the road, let's get to the road. And honestly, he'll tell you that the energy was drained out of me. He's never seen me look so white and so pale, and they just drained the energy out of me. But at the same time, there was a triangular UFO come over, and we saw about 3 or 4 silver-suited ETs standing over to the right-hand side, which we thought might have been silver birch trees, but we went back the next day, no silver birch trees there. But when this UFO had gone over, these things, and I'll tell you, we jumped into each other's arms, because these things, they made the most horrific noise that you could ever imagine. And we did. Anyway, we got down to the road, and he said, are you alright? But he literally had to hold me up, because they completely drained my energy. Although we covered ourselves, and I always cover myself, and we went back to the car park, and we got in the car, and we drove down to the bottom car park, and just sat there going over what on earth was that, what on earth happened. But we have seen quite a few black shadows, and that people do see the black shadows in that round, but normally
and
they're
monks.
not negative.
No, and the monks, there's 2 sorts
Oh,
of
the monks, we've seen loads of monks about
There's little
there.
ones and there's the big
there's
ones.
the taller ones. Yeah.
So why do you think they come? Why do they come in the first place?
I think they live there because I think that years ago that was their home and everything. I think why they're disturbed at the moment is because of all the tree felling that's going on. They cut down the forest, so it's half the forest of what it used to be, and it's disturbed everything. And I think they come out and they don't like the way it's been disturbed.
But the chances are that if you go back far enough, Brentford Forest was not a forest.
No, it wasn't. No, not until about 1943, was it?
I don't know, but if you go back even further,
oh, I know.
then it'll be covered with water.
Yes, it was, and like beech and gorse bushes, and because in the 1980s, about 1984, or sorry, in the 1800s, I should say, there was UFOs seen then, and Lord Rendlesham, who had the forest at the time, he was farming, and he saw these here white things coming out of the earth, and they went up into the sky. And he didn't know what they are. He called them the devil, and he got his farmers to get guns and that, and they were trying to shoot them down. And that was about 1884 or something. And then we found out in the 1600s there was the same thing happening way back in the 1600s. So they've always been around.
I think this ancestral path has got something to do with it. Absolutely right. But having said that, it's been so interesting talking to both of you. Now, we know about the photos, and at the end what we're going to do is we're going to mention the photos and they'll be slotted in to the programme. We can't do it at this moment because unfortunately it doesn't go in shot and there'll be a lot of glare from it and you wouldn't see it anyway. But we will sort that out here. Can I just briefly say, before we go any further, that I know that you have written 1 or 2 books at the moment? 3 books?
I've written several books, but not all about UFOs. I've wrote a ghost book,
Right.
poetry books, but I've wrote 3 UFO books.
And are these the 3 UFO books whereby they're going to appear on the credits on the covers? Covers will be
two of them are. The other one, Life on the Move, is still
Right.
got to be.
And we're going to talk about it. This is Brenda's latest book, and it's in the process of editing at this moment.
Yes.
And so watch this space, because that will be very interesting. We will move on from this interview to more in-depth talking about unidentified flying objects and the investigation path here. But can I just say for this moment then, it has been a pleasure talking to both of you.
Thank you.
And I really look forward to having you both back again, whether you're in different positions next time. Not as though I don't mind you here. And so we can work at them there. Well, I'll have my the studio will be a bit different then, and we'll try to get things a bit more normal. I'll get the normality back just a bit. But I hope you enjoyed it. And for now, Derek, I say thank you very much. And Brenda, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.